Hey everybody, I hope you guys are healthy and safe. So this is the Google Pixel 7a. This thing just got announced at Google I/O like a couple minutes ago. But I've been using this phone for about a week now. And I guess if you clicked into this video, you're wondering what I think of this phone. You want to know my review of the Google Pixel 7a. Well, about half a year ago, I reviewed the standard Google Pixel 7 for XDA developers. The review is here. The link is in the description below. If you want to know what I think of the Google Pixel 7a, you can just read that review. It's basically the same phone, so my job here is done, man. That's it for now. Thanks for watching. Okay, I'm just playing. I will dedicate a video review to the Google Pixel 7a. But I wasn't joking earlier. This is very, very similar to the standard Google Pixel 7. In fact, instead of talking about what's similar, it would be a lot easier if I talk about what's different between the two phones. So the Google Pixel 7, it's a little bit larger than the 7a. It has a 6.3 inch screen compared to the 6.1 inch screen in the 7a. So it's larger by a little bit, but the two phones still weigh almost exactly the same. The 7a weighs 193 grams. The second difference is the Google Pixel 7 has a better main camera hardware. It is a 50 megapixel camera with a 1/1.3 inch image sensor. The main camera hardware here has a smaller image sensor, it's 1/1.7 inch, and it is a 64 megapixel camera. So different hardware, not as good as the Pixel 7. However, Google's software image processing is so good, for the most part, you will not be able to tell the difference between the two cameras. Other than that, the Pixel 7a has a plastic back, while the standard Google Pixel 7 has a glass back. And around the front, this screen is covered by Gorilla Glass 3, while the Google Pixel 7 is covered by Gorilla Glass Victus. So that's about it in terms of differences between the Google Pixel 7a and the Google Pixel 7. Everything else, from the Google Tensor G2 chip that's in both phones, to the software experience, to the ultra-wide camera, they're all almost identical. In fact, when I was using this phone, I had to go borrow my friend's Pixel 7 just to hold the phone in my hand, just to make sure that I can spot differences, because I really thought this was just a Google Pixel 7. And you know what, man? It is not a bad thing at all that the Google Pixel 7a is just like the Google Pixel 7, because the Google Pixel 7 was a very, very good entry-level flagship phone at the time of release last fall. Now, 7 months have passed, so there have been other contenders that have hit the market, but I still think the Pixel 7 and the 7 Pro are among two of the best phones on the market right now. So the 7a, which starts at $499 US, you're getting a really good flagship phone at $499 US. I think the Pixel 7 started at $599 last year, so there's a $100 difference. So I guess the question really comes down to, are you okay with compromising on the main camera hardware a little bit and getting like a plastic back in order to save $100? I think for a lot of people the answer would be yes, particularly because, like I said, Google's software image processing is so good that the gap between this main camera and the Pixel 7's main camera is not that large. Now, I do notice that because the image sensor here is smaller, you don't get as much natural bokeh. Like, the depth of field is a little bit not as shallow. So that means when you're taking photos of something, of like multiple objects in frame, the image does appear a little bit more flat than the shot with the Google Pixel 7. But if you're just taking like a picture of something far away, like the LA City Hall here, the Pixel 7a will perform almost every bit as well as the Google Pixel 7 or the Google Pixel 7 Pro. Google's image processing is so good that you're always going to get like proper balance, like lights are almost never blown out. And I think Google's color science really make night shots look very aesthetically pleasing. Now, the best-in-class portrait mode of the Pixel phones are also here in the 7a, because that, again, that's all computational photography, so it doesn't really matter about the image sensor size, megapixel count, all of that. Now, the 13 megapixel ultra-wide camera here, like I said, performs very similarly to the Pixel 7's ultra-wide camera, which means this is a pretty good ultra-wide camera, but not like the best on the market. It's going to fall short of something like the Oppo Find X6 Pro, obviously, but you know, that phone costs like $1,200 US. If you're comparing this phone, the 7a's ultra-wide, against other phones in this $500 price range, like the Galaxy A54 or Xiaomi's Poco F5 Pro, I prefer the 7a's ultra-wide camera better than the other two. I think Google's computational photography does a really good job of finding balance. But definitely the camera performance of the Pixel 7a punches above its $500 price range. This feels like a $900 phone's camera. I think this camera can go toe-to-toe with the iPhone 14, for example, or the Galaxy S23, the base model. But when it comes to Google's software smarts, it's not just about improving photography. For example, the Pixel 6 and 7 had the best voice dictation I've ever seen anywhere. It's like uncanny. I can just speak to the Pixel phone at my current pace like this and just keep talking for like 2 minutes, and it'll pick up all my words at almost 99% accuracy. And that ability has carried over to the Google Pixel 7a. Let me show you really quick. So here's the voice recorder app. I'm gonna begin recording. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. And if I tap on this transcript button, it will transcribe what I'm saying in real time. And as you can see, it's transcribing at like 99% accuracy. Google will also automatically add punctuation marks for me. So a lot of times when I'm doing an interview, I just have to bring out a Pixel phone, record, and then after that, I don't have to transcribe anymore because whatever that person was saying, it's already here in text form. Do you know how much time that has saved me as a tech writer journalist? In the past, I would have to record the interview and then go home, play the interview back, and then transcribe myself. Like I have to type out the words as I'm hearing. I don't have to worry about that anymore with a Pixel 6, Pixel 7, and now Pixel 7a. It's just completely picking out my words at damn near 99.9% accuracy. And again, this works completely offline. I don't need an internet connection to do this. This awesome voice dictation carries over to voice typing. So on the Google Pixel phones, there's the ability to tell the phone's keyboard to type for you, and you don't have to touch the phone at all. So you can just say, "Hey Google, type." And then it will bring up the keyboard. I can tell you to type right now. Voice typing on the Pixel phones works so well that it has completely changed the way I use my phone when I'm using a Pixel. A lot of times when I get a WhatsApp message from the girlfriend or I get a Slack message from a colleague, I don't even bother picking up the phone to type anymore. I just use my voice to respond. I wouldn't do that with any other phone because voice dictation on like a S23 or an iPhone or a Xiaomi phone are just not as reliable as on the Google Pixel phones. And that's all thanks to the Google Tensor G2 chip. The Google Tensor G2, it's a chip designed by Google, and technically speaking, it's not as powerful as the best Qualcomm Snapdragon chip. The GPU is not as great, so if you're playing games, performance isn't going to run as smoothly as a Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 chip. But where the Tensor excel is in handling Google's machine learning, artificial intelligence, at deciphering human voices, at stitching together images to produce an HDR photo. These are the things that the Tensor is built for, and that's why the Pixel phones are so good at handling human speech and producing a photo. So as I mentioned earlier, this phone is relatively small size with a 6.1 inch screen. It weighs only 197 grams, so it's a very lightweight phone, and it has a flat panel, which I know a lot of you guys like. So overall, this phone feels very comfortable in the hand. This screen is a 90 Hz panel. It looks mostly good to my eyes, but maximum brightness is a little bit lacking. But I don't think that's a flaw of the Pixel A phones per se. Even the Google Pixel 7 Pro or the standard Pixel 7 also had maximum brightness that weren't as bright as a Galaxy phone or an iPhone. That's just something that Google needs to work on down the line. They need to work on the OLED panel brightness. But otherwise, animation is fluid, and when I'm using the screen indoors, it looks perfectly fine to my eyes. You have stereo speakers, excellent haptics, and IP67 water and dust resistance. The battery here is 4,385 mAh, which is quite large for a phone of this size. And because the Tensor G2 is quite efficient, this has been getting me all day battery life. I don't know the exact screen on time, but I would, start my day at 9 a.m. and then basically finish at like 10 p.m. or 11 p.m. So that's like 13, 14 hours out. And the phone has finished with enough battery left every single day. I didn't have to go find a charger in the middle of the day. The charging speeds, unfortunately, are quite abysmal. So even with wired cable charging, this thing maxes out at 20 watt speed. So if you're charging from a dead battery, expect to plug this thing in for well over an hour. As for wireless charging, there is wireless charging here, but it's 5 watt wireless charging. So I wouldn't even bother using it. So overall, I don't think the Pixel 7a really changes what we already knew about the Pixel phones. It's a phone with a really good camera that punches above its price class. And it's a phone with a really clean and intelligent software with little touches, like when there's music playing nearby, the phone will identify the music for you automatically. So little things like that that makes a Pixel so much fun to use. But if we're just talking about raw power, the Tensor G2 is definitely not as powerful as any of the recent Qualcomm Snapdragon chips, and the phone heats up quite fast. Charging is really slow, and the screen doesn't get as bright. These are all the same things I've been saying since the Pixel 7 and the Pixel 6. So, it's nothing new. But overall, I would still say the Pixel 7a is definitely worth it for $499 US. And I would pick this phone over the Galaxy A54 or probably even the Poco F5 Pro. The Poco F5 Pro has a much better chip and it has a brighter display, but the camera performance here and the overall software fluidity is just a little bit better than what Poco offers. And Google gives you 5 years of guaranteed software update. So overall, if you're on the market for a new phone and you don't want to pay more than $500, I think the Pixel 7a should be at the top of your considerations list. I would say this is right now the best mid-range phone on the market right now. If you can pay a little bit more, should you get the standard Pixel 7? I would say no, because really the only thing the Pixel 7 has over this phone is the glass back and the slightly larger image sensors, and I don't think both of those things matter that much in this particular case. Instead, I would pay a little bit more and get the Pixel 7 Pro, which has a periscope zoom lens that can do 5 times optical zoom. So this camera, the 7 Pro, it's a lot more versatile than the Pixel 7a's camera. But this is also like 200 something US more. So anyway, that's about it for this review of the Google Pixel 7a. Like I said, it really similar to my Pixel 7 review from half a year ago. So I guess you really could have just read that review and gotten the exact same message. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please consider subscribing to my channel. I have a lot more content coming up, including hopefully the Pixel Fold. I'm hoping to get my hands on that, and a couple of other upcoming phones from Chinese brands I can't talk about yet. But I have a lot coming, so stay tuned. That's it for now. Thanks for watching.